Ever wondered what happens when the mic is off and the real conversation begins? Off the Mic takes you behind the scenes with your favorite voices, unfiltered, unedited, and unapologetically real.
From untold stories and raw moments to various insights, this is where the truth comes out. No filters, just real talk.
So, grab your headphones and get ready to hear what really goes down off the mic. Hello to our Maya Cakes all over the world. This is I, Thea.
And Kurt,
And we welcome you to another Off the Mic episode, wherein one Jesus a day
makes everyone's day.
slay! Kurt, have you noticed how prevalent water pollution is nowadays?
Oh, absolutely. Everywhere you look, plastic bottles are floating in the ocean, making it very dangerous for underwater species.
I know, right? It angers me every time I think about it. How much damage we're causing to the marine life. The worst part, they think that it's not a big deal. They'd be like, it's just a tiny piece of trash, without knowing that it will later on pile up, negatively affecting our environment.
Exactly, Thea. Luckily, the United Nations built a Sustainable Development Goal for this. It is called the SDG 14 Life Below Water. It is all about conserving and sustainably using oceans, seas, and marine resources. Marine pollution, overfishing, and habitat destruction threaten marine biodiversity. Joining us today is Bruce, who will share his personal insights and experiences on marine pollution. Hi Bruce, how are you?
I'm feeling great. What about you, Kurt?
I'm fine. Anyways, have you heard about the destruction that marine life is currently facing right now?
Yes, and it saddens me to think that our environment is slowly giving up.
Indeed, the destruction of marine life is a growing crisis. Plastic pollution, harmful fishing practices, and industrial waste severely impact biodiversity. This isn't just an environmental issue. It affects livelihoods, food security, and the well-being of communities, especially in Mindanao, where fisheries play a crucial role in the local economy.
That's right, Kurt. I've seen firsthand how pollution affects our coastal communities. Fishermen are catching less, coral reefs are bleaching, and the ocean is becoming a dumping ground. Plastic waste is everywhere, floating in the water, tangled in mangroves, and even found in the fish we eat. Chemical runoff from factories and farms contaminates marine life, affecting entire ecosystems. Coastal households who rely on fishing for a living are struggling and are pushed to seek alternative means of income. The once thriving marine biodiversity is declining, replaced by dying corals and falling fish populations. If we do not act now, future generations may never see the beauty and abundance that our seas are once provided.
That's a terrifying reality, Bruce. And what's worse is that many people don't realize the full extent of the problem. The damage isn't just happening underwater, it's affecting people on land too. The depletion of fish stocks leads to a higher seafood prices, making it harder for families to afford nutritious meals. Fishermen who once thrived on the abundance of the ocean are now facing poverty, while some are even forced to resort to illegal fishing methods just to survive.
Exactly, and let's not forget how climate change worsens everything. Rising ocean temperatures and acidification are speeding up coral bleaching, leaving marine habitats devastated. Warmer waters also disrupt fish migration, which means certain species that are supernovators are becoming harder to catch. This throws the entire fishing industry into chaos.
That's a great point. I've noticed that some fishermen are now venturing farther out to sea just to catch enough fish to sell. And this is costly and dangerous. Others are shifting jobs on land, but not everyone has the skills or resources to do that. We're losing not only marine life, but also a way of life that sustain communities for generations.
Absolutely. But the good news is, it's not too late. If we start making changes now through policies, community action, and individual responsibility, we can still turn things around. We can clean up on our shores, demand sustainable fishing practice, and push for stricter environmental laws.
That's right, Bruce. Every small action contributes to our future. If we choose to reduce our plastic use, support eco-friendly businesses, and educate others about marine conservation, we can create real change. It starts with awareness, but it must lead to action. Beyond the economic impact, we can't ignore the spiritual and moral responsibility we have. As stewards of creation, we are called to protect and preserve what has been entrusted to us. Our reckless consumption and wasteful habits are not only harming nature, but also violating the principles of responsible and ethical living. That's where the connection to Christian morality comes in and becomes clear. In Genesis, God commands humanity to fill the earth and subdue it. But this does not mean exploitation. It means stewardship. We are not owners but caretakers of creation, and our responsibility is to nurture and protect it for future generations. When we allow industries to dump toxic waste into our waters, when we overfish and destroy entire ecosystems, when we fill our shores with plastic, we are failing in our moral duty. Jesus himself showed deep concern for creation, using nature in parables and miracles. He calmed down the storm, walked on water, and spoke of seeds and harvests, showing that creation is part of God's divine plan. Yet, today, we are turning the ocean into a wasteland. Our carelessness is not just an environmental crisis, it's a spiritual crisis. How can we claim to love God while actively destroying His creation?
Exactly, Kurt. And this is where conscience comes into play. As Christians, we are called to examine our actions and ask ourselves whether they align with the values of love, justice, and responsibility. When we knowingly contribute to pollution, whether through personal choices or by ignoring harmful industrial practices, we are not just harming the environment, but we are also going against our moral duty. Personalism teaches us that every human being has inherent dignity and should never be treated as a mere object. But when we allow marine ecosystems to be destroyed, we are also harming the communities that depend on them. Fishermen lose their livelihoods, people suffer from health issues due to polluted waters, and entire coastal populations bear the consequences of our neglect. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a human dignity issue. We often think of morality in terms of personal choices, how we treat others, how we practice our faith, but morality is about how we treat the world around us. Pope Francis in Laudato Si reminds us that a true ecological approach always becomes a social approach. We must integrate questions of justice in debates on the environment, so as to hear both the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. This means we cannot separate environmental destruction from social injustice. The exploitation of marine resources benefits the powerful while harming the vulnerable. If we allow this to continue, we are complicit in a system that values profit over people, greed over justice. If we truly believe in being for others, we must recognize that protecting marine life is a way of serving our fellow human beings as we actually take care of the ocean, whether it's reducing plastic, supporting sustainable industries, or advocating for better forests. As a reflection of our love for both God's creation and the people who rely on it. But the question remains, are we listening to our conscience, or are we turning away from this responsibility? Because choosing ignorance is a failure of faith. True stewardship requires action, and that means rethinking how we live, consume, and interact with nature.
That's such an important point, Aliyah. Christian morality isn't just about personal faith. It's about how that faith translates into action. If we say we care about life and dignity, we must prove it through the way we treat the environment. The destruction of marine life isn't just a scientific crisis. It's a test of our values. If we fail to act, we are failing in our moral responsibility. So what can we do? How do we align our actions with our faith?
It starts with awareness. Second, we must educate others. Many people are unaware of how their daily choices impact marine life and human dignity. Churches, schools, and local organizations should work together to spread awareness and encourage responsible consumption. Lastly, prayer and reflection should move us towards action. Faith without works is dead. If we truly believe in God's creation, we must show it in how we care for it. This isn't just about environmentalism, it's about living faithfully in a way that respects all life.
That's so powerful, Aliyah. It's clear that taking care of the ocean is more than just an option. It's an obligation. We are not just protecting marine life. We are protecting human dignity and responding to God's call to be caretakers of His creation. So let's ask ourselves, are we honoring our responsibility as stewards of creation? Are we truly living out our faith in how we treat the world around us? Because this is the moment to make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for our future generations.
We've had such a meaningful discussion today about marine pollution, Christian morality, and our responsibility as stewards of nature. But at the heart of this issue is something deeper, the value of human dignity and freedom. How does protecting marine life connect to the dignity and freedom of every person? Why should we, as individuals and as a society, care? That's a great question, Dea. When we talk about human dignity, we are recognizing that every person is created in the image and likeness of God, which means they have inherent worth and value. But dignity isn't just about individuals, it's also about the world we live in. Marine life is valuable, not just for its beauty or ecological importance, but because it directly affects human life. Millions of people rely on the ocean for food, jobs, and survival. Yet, when marine ecosystems are destroyed by pollution, overfishing, and climate change, the most vulnerable communities suffer the most. Small-scale fishermen lose their livelihoods, coastal families face food insecurity, and entire cultures that depend on the ocean are at risk of disappearance. This is an attack on human dignity. And then there's freedom. True freedom is not just about doing whatever we want. It's about making choices that uphold justice, responsibility, and the common good. If industries and individuals continue to exploit marine resources recklessly, they are misusing their freedom at the cost of others. But when we use our freedom wisely, when we advocate for responsible consumption, when we protect marine biodiversity, we are choosing to uplift human dignity rather than destroy it. So, protecting marine life is not just an environmental issue, it's a moral issue. It's about recognizing that our actions have consequences, and we must choose to act in ways that respect both natural world and the people who depend on it.
Precious, what are some practical steps we can take, both as individuals and as a society, that align with Christian and the UN sustainability?
Thanks, Thea. Yes, taking action is key. And the good news is, we don't have to wait for governments or large organizations to start making a difference. We can begin with small practical steps in our daily lives. One of the biggest threats to marine life is plastic pollution. We can all make simple choices like using reusable bags, bottles, and containers, refusing single-use plastics, and properly disposing of waste. These small acts reflect responsible stewardship, taking care of the world God entrusted to us. Next, overfishing is another major issue. By choosing sustainably sourced seafood and supporting ethical fishing practices, we ensure that marine species are not depleted and that fishermen are treated fairly. This aligns with human dignity and responsible consumption as encouraged by the UN Sustainable Development Goals or the SDGs. Change happens when people speak up. We can raise awareness in our communities, talk to our families about sustainability, and even encourage our schools or churches to take action. Faith-based groups can lead cleanup drives, tree planting activities, or workshops on caring for creation. At the end of the day, the ocean is not just a resource, it's a reflection of God's creation. On how we care for it speaks volumes about who we are as people of faith. If we truly believe in love, justice, and stewardship, we must act, not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
That was so inspiring, Precious. It's clear that change starts with us, our daily choices, our advocacy, and how we use freedom responsibly. Wow, what a journey this has been! From understanding the destruction of marine life and its moral implications to diving deep into human dignity, freedom, and responsibility, this conversation has truly been an eye-opener.
Absolutely. We've explored how protecting marine life isn't just about saving the environment. It's about upholding human dignity and reflecting the authentic image of God. Through our discussions with Bruce, Aliyah, Celine, and Precious, we've seen how faith, personalism, and action all come together for a greater purpose.
Yes, indeed. We've learned that our conscience calls us to be irresponsible stewards of creation. The human dignity and freedom give us the power to choose what is right, and that small, practical steps can make a huge impact on sustainability.
And by making responsible choices, we don't just protect marine life, we we protect future generations and live out our faith in a meaningful way.
To our amazing guests, Bruce, Aliyah, Celine, and Precious, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights. Your words has truly inspired us.
And of course, thank you, Thea, for leading such a great discussion.
Right back to you, Kurt. And everyone listening, thank you for being with us on this journey. Remember, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something new.
We're in.
A dose of chismis a day
Makes everyone's day.
Slay!